Last video, I gave Dover £1 billion, and while they had promotions, a relegation, Solskjaer was at the wheel, and they failed financial fair play. I'm now 11 years in the future. How are they getting on? Let's find out together, shall we? Yes, folks, how's it going? Welcome back to Dover. If you didn't see the previous video, link at the top of the description to it. We are now 11 years in the future, and we left things with Ole getting Manager of the Year and getting the team promoted back to League One. And I'm pleased to report that they're still in League One. At least for now, they're still in League One. They've done this before, but this time around, they finished 17th. So, you know what? Shout out to Dover. That is a pretty respectable finish. They finished 7 points ahead of the drop. You can see Oakley Booth is still at the club, but Charlie Jones is now their key player, the man who they picked up from Manchester City, leading the way. I say that. He's their key player. Look at that performance. That's not a key player performance, is it? In the transfer market, they are actually starting to spend a little bit more money. Layton signed for 325k. He is rubbish. Okay, I'm not going to question why they've spent money on this guy. Now, one thing I have actually noticed is all these new signings happened in the last few days at the end of the season. Have they been under a transfer embargo again? The answer is yes. They failed financial fair play regulations in League One. I'm hoping this isn't going to be an issue. Otherwise, well, this video may never see the light of day. I don't know what I'd do. If they're just stuck in League One and League Two forever, that's going to be underwhelming, isn't it? I mean, they've still got the money, 940 million in the bank. Financial status are rich. Ole, by the way, still at the club, still leading the way too. Their media prediction was 19, so he overperformed with them. I am a bit worried for them, mind you. So I've gone forward 3 further seasons. It's now 2036, and Dover, they're in the promised land. They've been promoted. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still manager. He's now been here a little while at Dover, to be fair. He's played 266 games, won 109 of them, and I'll tell you what, he's won a second promotion with them as well. Look at this. They have finished second in League One, despite having a media prediction of 13th. Now, their key player is Bright Kwame. This man's on £37,000 a week. In the last 3 years, they've started to spend the big bucks. Their bank balance is now down at 900 million, which is still an absurd amount of money, but they are slowly getting through the cash we've given them. And looking at things here, they did fail financial fair play regulations in 2035, but they've only failed it once in the last 3 years, so what have they bought? So in the 2033-34 season, the first season after we were last here, they signed a man for 225k. He actually looks quite good, Andy Yappan here. He is a Welsh centre-back on 5k a week. The year after that, did they spend more money? Yes, they spent 4.4 million this year. They brought in Abraham Carnu, who's 30 years old. He's on £40,000 a week. He's not played very well for them. In the same season they picked up Carnu, they got this man, Aled Jones, for 700k. I'm underwhelmed. Slightly less underwhelmed by this signing, though. Anthony Francis, on a 10k a week, signed for 500k from Oxford. And, well, he's got 7 assists this year. He's not done too badly from centre mid. And also, he's a Trinidad and Tobago international. And in this most recent promotion season, £2.5 million spent. Daniel Gore, the bulk of that, signed for £1.4 million from Stoke. None of the players they've signed for actual money have done very well. So just looking at their current first team squad and wages, they've got players on 30k a week, 40k a week, 44k a week. Occo here, they signed on a free from Villa a few years ago. This man's been with them through thick and thin. 11 goals in 45 games this year. He's done quite well. Not sure he should be on £44,000 a week. Talked about Kwame previously. This man is their key player. He looks very, very good. 16 clean sheets to his name. Wouldn't be surprised if he's been pretty important to their success in goal. Worth noting, Dover's salary per year is 12.15 million. That is almost double the next highest team in Swansea, and it is double the teams from 5th downwards. That is, I mean, it's almost triple. This is outrageous how much money they're spending. I'm confused as to why their media prediction was 13th. I can only assume their squad just isn't very good and they're just spending a lot of money and Solskjaer's a genius. I know United fans are going to be shaking their head at that conclusion, but I literally cannot explain it any other way. Solskjaer is a god in FM. It's only taken 13 or 14 years, but Dover, now in the Championship, keen to see how they get on. Are they going to be able to stay up? I'm only going to go forward 1 year this time. I want to see how they manage and how they spend. Okay, season 1 in the Championship in the books for Dover. Solskjaer's still here, so he's not been sacked. And good news, I think. They've stayed up by 2 points. They finished ahead of Salford, Reading and Lincoln. Salford and Lincoln were promoted with them last year. Reading just not doing very well. I want to paint Dover out to be the underdogs here, and to be fair, they've not got the biggest wages in the league, but it has gone up by £7 million a year in the last season, so they've clearly spent some money. They currently have the 13th highest wage bill in the league, and well, they've still got lots of money in the bank to continue to invest. Now, I will say, they have spent £23 million this year in the Championship, and the fact they only just stayed up having spent that much, maybe a tad concerning. Their big signing was Franklin Nyek, who they picked up from Norwich for £16.25 million. They have more money than sense. Other notable transfers in terms of fees paid include Paris Hay here, who is an Irish international. He was signed for £3.2 million. Sam Price here joined the club for £2.5 million. And Liam Clayton here was the fourth most expensive addition to the team. He came in at only £425,000. Can't help but feel like they should have spread the fees out a little bit more to get a bit more quality. But I mean, to be fair to them, they were predicted to finish bottom. They've avoided the drop. Solskjaer's still in charge. And, well, looking at things here, they're continuing to invest in the facilities. They have actually got better. The youth recruitment, training and youth facilities are all getting there. I'm not sure how long it's going to take them to run out of money. Just looking at the wages they are offering their players, it's kind of mad how there's some players who are on crazy sums of money really not doing that much. And then some of their better performers just don't get paid as much as they should. Top goal scorer in the league for Dover was this man, Adam Morris, a player they signed from Coventry for $400k, so at least he came in and did what he was meant to do. Sam Price got 11 goals. I looked at this guy and thought he was a right back. He's a right winger. That still doesn't justify the £2.5 million or the £45,000 a week, but at least he's scoring. And the third highest goal scorer, a man who's been here a long time now, Charlie Jones, of course, signed way back when in League Two. He's been with the club for the last few years under Solskjaer. This year, had a respectable season in the Championship. Just looking at the history of facilities here at Dover, you can see how they've improved over time. Their stadium capacity was increased at 8,500 this season. They moved back to it in February. So, yeah, the Crabble Athletic Ground, their stadium, continuing to see expansions. I wonder how big they're going to make it. And at the end of last season, they also improved their youth category to Category 1. So they are really trying to invest in the infrastructure and build it all up. Right now, hot prospect is Alex Spearman. He's never going to play for them, is he? Okay, so Dover have managed to stay up in the Championship, at least for 1 year. I'm going to go forward to 2039. We'll see how they go on 2 years in the future. Are they still going to be in the Championship? Are they going to have spent another 20 million for the next 2 years? Let's go find out. I'm back. Dover are still here. They're still in the Championship. Ollie isn't, though. Terry Skiverton is the current manager of the club, and he has been for the last year. So after 6 years in charge, Ollie left. He built up his reputation, then he cast Dover aside. You might be wondering, where did he go? I'm wondering that too. He went to Brighton and then was sacked 4 months later after they were relegated. And now he's just been unemployed for the last year. It's a sad end to the story. So the Ollie chapter is over, but Terry Skiverton is still in charge. And I'll tell you now, he's doing okay with them. Dover finished 15th for the most recent year. Yeah, they're nowhere near the top. They finished 30 points off the teams that were eventually promoted. But equally, they were 9 points clear of the drop. They were safe, and they finished ahead of Brighton. So have that, and that's what you get for sacking Ollie. When we left things previously, Dover, I think, were spending around 18 million. Over the last 2 years, their wage total has more than doubled. They now have the 5th highest wages in the league. And in terms of net transfer spend, they spent 20 million this season. I wonder how much they've spent over the last 2 years. So the year that Ollie left, they spent 37 million. Much of this was invested before he left as well. They picked up Jensen Fallon from Salford. They signed him for 6.25 million. He'd got 1 goal in 42 league games in the Championship prior to that. No idea why they spent the money on him, although he has got double-figure goals for the last 2 years. He's not that good, is he? They picked up Wei Zhao from Shandong for 6 million. He played 17 matches, and then they sold him to Auxerre in League 2, or League 2, for 1.2 million. None of these transfers make any sense, do they? Darren Rye, 33 years old, they signed him for 5 million. He has been absolutely average. He's not worth the money they've paid. He's 33 years old now. Ellis Howells joined the club. last year, he's not here anymore. They've sold him to Saudi Arabia, the nation, not a club in Saudi Arabia. No, it's Al Tawoon for 1.5 million. They signed him for 4.3 million. They really don't understand the concept of transfer profit, do they, here? And to be fair, looking at the additions they made last season at least, there was lots of quality across the board. At least they didn't spend 15 million on one player like the previous year. In this season just gone, their big signing was Diego here, Argentine, 31 years old. He's really not very good. They spent £8 million on him. What are they doing? Callum Nesbitt, of all the players I've looked at so far they spent big money on, he looks quite good. They picked him up from Stoke for 4.3 million. He had an okay year, although they are in the process of potentially selling him to Cardiff for 5.25 million. I mean, if that happens, they will have actually made profit with a sale, so round of applause for Dover. I mean, even if I want to be dubious of the transfers, fundamentally, they have actually got better. Their current key player is Jonathan Partridge, 26 years old. This man's on £59,000 a week, which is absolutely bonkers. They picked him up from Nottingham Forest, and he's got 1 goal in 55 league games. Fitz Samuel was their best player this year. This man's on £75,000 a week. They picked him up on a free transfer after, I believe, he was released by Blackburn. Looking at it, he actually looks rather good. Fair play, they've got a good signing here. A little unsure about the wages. And in fact, looking at it, Samuel is the highest earner by a massive amount, on £75,000 a week. Then it's Partridge, and then it's Charlie Jones, long-term servant to the club at this point. This man's been here through thick and thin. Look at these performances. They've not been that good, have they? But he's been here for the long haul. He's one of the originals. The bank balance still looks rather healthy, the training facilities are good, the youth facilities are phenomenal, and the youth recruitment, it's no longer grey stars, it's now half a gold star. They're moving up in the world. I suppose we should also acknowledge the fact their media prediction is 22nd. Despite all the signings they've made, no one actually believes they've improved the squad that much, and to be fair, I think Terry's done a bit of a miracle to get them 15th. I am wondering, though, with a mid-table finish, maybe this is them stabilising a little bit as a championship club. I think to end today's video, I'm going to go forward to 2042. 20 years after we started, are they going to have hit the £100 million spent mark? Let's go find out together. Okay, didn't expect this when I went forward 3 years. Dover are in the Premier League. They finished bottom of the Premier League. They don't have a manager. And they've also only got 768 million left in the bank. Feel like I've missed out on a lot. Okay, first things first. They've got through a few managers. Terry Skiverton, he left his manager role. Where did he go? He went to Southampton and got them promoted and got Championship Manager of the Year for this season just gone. Now, just looking at things here, he left to go to Southampton after he got them promoted. He literally got the club promoted, got the Championship Manager of the Year, and then said, peace out, Cub Scout, and left over without a manager for their promotion. And in their first season after promotion, they had Matthew Targett be manager for 156 days, and then Thomas Reid, he lasted 2 days longer. This man is now manager of Coventry. He was sacked after 158 days, just a few weeks ago. It's really not gone well for Dover this season in the Premier League. Now, of course, we left things last time with them 15th. There's been 3 seasons played since then. Looking at things, they finished 6th in the Championship, then 2nd, and then had this season in the Premier League. So the season where they finished 6th, Terry was still manager. They got to the playoffs. They got beaten in the playoff semi-final by Crystal Palace. They won 6-4 on aggregate. The season after that, though, 84 points to their name. That's not too shabby. They really did climb their way up. They finished in the automatic promotion spots comfortably. Of course, Terry then left them. They went to the Premier League. And then this season, they won 2 games. I feel bad for them. At the same time, they've made it to the Premier League once. We should be happy. I'm a little bit terrified to look at how they've spent their money in the Premier League. Maybe they've gone absolutely Looney Tunes with all the money they've been given. We'll have a quick look at the seasons they had in the Championship, starting with this one here. This was the year where they finished 6th. They picked up Ron Harris, who is still at the club. They signed him for £9 million. And he's made 6 appearances in 3 years. Paul Jackson was another signing in this season. They picked him up from QPR for £5 million. At least he's played some matches of football. Now, in their promotion season, they did buy 2 players for over £10 million, but these were actually signings made at the end of the season. It looks like they didn't spend a load of money the year they got promoted, bizarrely. And in fact, if we look at that promotion season, they have a few players to thank. Samuel, who we talked about already, this man got a load of goals for them, 18 goals to his name in their promotion year. He got 7 in the Premier League and got 6.57 rating. Just ignore the most recent season. We're going to pretend it hasn't happened. Another man who was really important to their promotion season was this man, Steven Simmons. They picked him up on a free from Man City. They sold him halfway through this season for 2.4 million. I can't help but feel like he would have been a fairly helpful player for them to have in their bid to stay up. And their best performer in their promotion season was Stuart Russell here. But at 34 years old, well, he doesn't look very good now. He got a 7.26 rating in the Championship, took the step up to the Premier League, and did diddly squat. I mean, let's be fair to Dover. They did well to get promoted. What did they do when they got promoted? The answer is, well, they spent £10 million on 2 players. The first of those players, Robert Basala. £95,000 a week this man's on. He didn't get a goal or an assist all year. They signed him for £10 million, and this man, he's got around a little bit. The other player they picked up was Bailey Poole. They signed him for £10.75 million. They've already sold him to Rennes in Ligue 2 for almost £20 million. I mean, as soon as they got relegated, he left very, very quickly. You can see he was that big sale that they made. They did also sell a player after the season started. This guy, Van Inzerelen. I nailed that pronunciation. They sold this man for £6 million. I'll be honest, that's actually a quite good deal. I don't think he's that good. In Dover's relegated team, their key man is this man, Milan Stevanovic. They picked him up from Manchester United for £3.4 million. I have noticed here he's already agreed to leave and join Levante for £9.5 million. They're losing all their good players having got relegated. Can you remember Frank Niek, the guy they signed from Norwich for £15 million? I've only just noticed, this man is still here. He's actually been a regular part of their team. I don't know how he's frauded this. He is not Premier League quality. And worst of all, he's on £145,000 a week for the next 3 years. The second highest earner is also Jonathan Partridge, a man who we looked at previously. Not a bad player. Not £120,000 a week player. Now, I'll tell you what is mad. Consider this is their first season of promotion to the Premier League. Dover, they have the 14th highest wage budget, £77 million a year. Now, obviously, TV money in the Premier League means they can afford to spend that much. But as a newly promoted team, to be outspending, 6 other teams in the Championship? That's kind of mad, especially considering they have finished rock bottom. Their media prediction was to finish bottom. They clearly don't have the quality. I feel bad. Now, if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you might have noticed they did move stands to the Chris Kinnear Park. I assume Chris Kinnear is a club legend of some kind. Indeed, he is as a manager. I can't click on him, so maybe a Dover fan can fill me in on who the lovely bloke Chris Kinnear is. But he's had a stadium named after him. So the move to that new stadium happened at the start of the year. The youth and training facilities were last upgraded 5 years ago. I did notice the youth facilities, they were 4.5 star. They have gone down a little bit. So right now, Dover are managerless. They've been relegated. They're spending money on really not very good players, let's be honest. I'm somewhat excited and interested to see what they can do from here. I think the fact that they're now at that point where they've hit the Premier League, if they can just become a yo-yo team for a few years, maybe they start to sign some better players, their reputation climbs up, they can attract a few more players. I expect them to do better when I return. Just as a little reminder, the Dover save games for this experiment will be available at the end of the final part of this mini-series. I think we're going to do next part as the final one. I think 30 years will give us a good idea of where they're at. Are they going to be able to have some success? Are they going to be able to win the Premier League? Probably not if we're being realistic, but you know what? They've defied a lot of my expectations so far to make it this high up the league. Thank you for watching today's video. Part 3 will be up over the weekend. I hope you guys are excited for it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as always, and until next time, take it easy. It's me, Jack, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.